My daughter didn't say she was taking my home. She said she was giving me a chance to rest. That's the thing about people who want something from you. They learn to use the word love as a key, and they'll use it on every door until one of them opens. I didn't argue when she packed my winter coat. I didn't object when my son-in-law loaded 2 suitcases into the trunk. 2, as if 38 years of living in the same house could be folded down into 34 inches of rolling luggage. I stood in the driveway of the house, Edwin, and I bought the year our daughter started kindergarten. And I watched my breath make small clouds in the January air, and I said nothing. Because I had learned long ago that the moment you start begging is the moment they stop listening. "You'll love it there, Mom," my daughter said. She had her work voice on, clear, forward-moving, asking no questions. "It's not a nursing home, it's assisted living. Completely different. They have a library." She was right that it wasn't a nursing home. Cedar Glen Assisted Living smelled like a hotel lobby. Fake lavender, carpet cleaner, and something underneath both that no number of plug-in air fresheners could quite cover. The woman at the front desk, tall, wearing a name badge with a small flower drawn on it, smiled the way people smile when their job requires it. "Mrs. Daltrey," she said, "we've been expecting you." I nearly laughed, as if I'd made a reservation. Room 14B was on the ground floor. My daughter pointed out this was safer for someone my age. The window faced the parking lot. The bed was made the way hospital beds are made. Too tight. The sheets pulled flat as an argument. On the dresser sat a framed photo of Edwin at my grandson's high school graduation, which my daughter had brought along to make it feel like home. It didn't feel like home. Home was 412 Sycamore Bend. Home was the kitchen table, Edwin built in 1987 from a kit he ordered out of a catalog. The one that wobbled slightly on the left side because he'd had a beer while assembling it and measured the same leg twice and still got it wrong. Home was the oak tree in the backyard he planted the summer we got married. The one my son-in-law had wanted taken down for years because he said it was a liability. I had kept it because it was ours. The first 3 days I spent understanding the walls. No cell phone, they collected it my first morning, citing care plan guidelines and facility policy. My bank account, which I'd added my daughter to after Edwin died, because she'd asked me to, just in case something happens to you, Mom, was now accessible only through her. My mail was being forwarded to their house. My house sat empty with everything inside it. The staff was not unkind. That was almost harder. Donna at the front desk greeted me every morning. Carlos, the evening aide, brought me an extra blanket without being asked. They weren't the enemy. They were just the circumstances. I met Mabel on the 4th day. She was in the room they called a library. 16 books, 2 puzzles with missing pieces, 2 chairs facing a window overlooking a garden nobody used in January. She was sitting in one of those chairs with a cup of tea she'd clearly brought from her own room. Because the tea they served in the common area was, as she informed me within the first 3 minutes of knowing her, the color of dishwater and approximately as useful. She was 81. Former county court judge, retired 12 years. She'd been at Cedar Glen for 18 months after a fall on her back porch and a prolonged disagreement between her 2 sons, one in Georgia, one in Colorado, about who should be responsible for her. They'd eventually agreed on Cedar Glen. She told me this with the flat clarity of a woman who had spent 22 years delivering verdicts she didn't always believe in. "Did you fight it?" I asked. "I was tired," she said, "and my hip hurt, and I underestimated what they were willing to do." She looked at me over the rim of her cup. "You haven't made that mistake, I can tell." We started meeting every afternoon at 2. She brought the tea. I found crossword puzzles in the activity room and worked half of them before bringing them to her. We didn't explain ourselves to each other. That's one of the things nobody tells you about women our age. We've done enough explaining. We know when it isn't required. "You've gone quiet," Mabel said one afternoon about a week in. "I'm thinking," I said. "Good," she said. "Think loud." On the 9th day, I found the envelope. My daughter had packed my things in a hurry. I could tell from the way nothing was folded. She'd grabbed armfuls and stuffed them in, the way you pack when you're trying to finish before you can change your mind. At the bottom of the canvas tote that held my scarves and reading glasses, I found a manila envelope I didn't recognize at first. Then I did. 2 years ago, 6 weeks after Edwin died, I had filed a claim with Meridian Life Insurance Company. Edwin had held a policy for 20 years. I was the sole beneficiary. The company disputed it, citing unspecified questions about original application disclosures. I sent letters. I made calls. I was transferred to departments that couldn't help me. 3 months in, grief consumed everything else and I let it go. I told myself I'd come back to it. I never did. The envelope held a letter from a law firm called Beckett and Ames, dated 14 months ago. They had organized a class action on behalf of policyholders in similar disputes against Meridian Life. They had won a settlement. My portion, based on Edwin's policy value and applicable damages, was $848,000. The check had been mailed to 412 Sycamore Bend. It came back unclaimed. They were still holding it. I sat on the edge of my bed and read the letter 3 times. Then I put it back in the envelope, tucked the envelope under the mattress, and went to dinner. Chicken and green beans and a roll that had seen better days. I ate every bite. That night, I slept 8 hours straight, which I hadn't done since the week before Edwin's diagnosis. I waited 4 more days before I moved. I needed to become furniture first, the kind no one looks at. That meant attending bingo, which I find genuinely tedious. It meant thanking Donna every morning for the orange juice, even though they'd never squeezed an orange anywhere near it. It meant not reacting when the television next door ran at full volume every night until 10. You stop being watched when you stop being interesting, and once you stop being interesting, you can move. On the 13th day, I asked Carlos if I could use the staff phone. I told him I needed to call about a prescription. "Of course, Mrs. Daltrey," he said, and walked me to the small office off the lobby without another question. He was a good young man, the kind who trusts people with small things without needing a reason, which is rarer than it sounds. The Beckett and Ames letterhead had a main number and a direct extension. The main line rang 4 times. I was transferred once. Then a voice came on that I recognized before he said his name. Amos Beckett. I stopped. "You used to draw horses in the margins of every worksheet I gave you," I said, "for an entire year." A silence, then, "Mrs. Daltrey?" 3rd row, center seat, 1998. He laughed. A real laugh, surprised out of him. "I can't believe this. We've been trying to reach you." The letter came back. "I know," I said. "I just found it. I'm calling from a phone that isn't mine, and I may not have long. Let me tell you where I am." Amos Beckett listened without interrupting. He didn't offer reassurances or fill the silences with noise. He was quiet the way a good judge is quiet, absorbing. When I finished, he said, "Are you physically safe?" "Yes," I said. "Legally, no." "I can help with the legally," he said. Just like that. We arranged a meeting. He would come during visiting hours, posing as a representative from an estate planning service, one I told him to invent. He signed in with Donna on Tuesday afternoon. She offered him coffee. He declined politely. We met in the family room with the door locked and his briefcase open. The settlement funds were already redirected into a client account in my name only. The power of attorney document had clear grounds for revocation, signed within months of Edwin's death, no independent counsel, the signature obtained at a dinner table without legal guidance. He had filed the motion. The hearing was set for 3 weeks out. He also handed me a new will, updated, witnessed, notarized, my name in bold at the top. I, Lenora Daltrey, being of sound mind and clear intention, do hereby revoke all previous documents. I read that line out loud just to hear it. "Your grandson's trust is already structured," Amos said. "Tuition and housing, no restrictions, available immediately." He slid another paper toward me. "And this is the preliminary framework for the Edwin Daltrey Scholarship Fund, through Millbrook Elementary. First award can be issued next academic year." I looked at the paper. Edwin had volunteered at Millbrook every Friday for 6 years. He drove the kids to the library in our van, the one with the back window that stuck, and came home smelling like crayons and cafeteria, and said it was the best part of his week. He never mentioned it to anyone outside the family. He didn't do things for audiences. "He would have liked this," I said. "I know," Amos said. "You used him as an example once, 4th grade, unit on community helpers. You talked about him for 10 minutes, I still remember." I hadn't remembered that, but he had. All those years and he'd carried it. Before he left, Amos told me one more thing. My office sent a letter yesterday, he said, on behalf of a fictitious real estate consulting firm, to your daughter's address, expressing serious interest in acquiring the property at 412 Sycamore Bend. Cash offer, enough to cause a reaction. I looked at him. She needs to believe she has something to lose before she's willing to negotiate, he said. Right now, she thinks the house is already hers. He was right, and I had taught him that lesson, the value of letting someone reconsider before they've had time to dig in. 2 days later, my daughter called the facility main line. Donna transferred her to my room. Mom, her work voice was gone. Did you reach out to some real estate company about the house? Someone sent a letter. Someone did mention an interest, I said. One of my contacts has been looking into options. Options. A pause. Mom, you can't just make decisions without talking to us first. I'll have my attorney reach out, I said. He handles all of that now. Silence. What attorney? Good night, I said. Talk soon. I hung up the receiver and walked back down the hallway. I passed Donna at her desk and she looked up and said, "Everything all right?" And I said, "Better than it's been in weeks," and I meant it. My daughter came on Saturday, without the tulips this time, and without the professional warmth. She sat across from me with her hands folded and asked directly what I was doing. Managing my affairs, I said. Mom, she leaned forward, we were trying to protect you. After Dad died, you seemed so. The house has stairs. You were alone. I was grieving, I said, which is different from incapable. You knew that, but incapable was more useful to you than grieving. She flinched small, but I saw it. I'm not here to punish you, I said. I understand what happened. Your father died, you were frightened, and instead of sitting with that fear, you did something practical with it. The problem is that you did it with my life. I paused. The house is mine. The accounts are mine. The decisions are mine. If you want to be my daughter, not my manager, not my guardian, my actual daughter, I'm available for that. But I won't be managed. Not by you, not by anyone. She didn't answer for a long moment. Then she stood and gathered her purse and said she needed to get back. My son-in-law was waiting in the lobby, as he always was. I watched them walk out through the glass doors into the cold and thought that they probably looked, from the outside, like a perfectly normal family on a normal Saturday visit. That's the other thing no one tells you about betrayal. It always looks ordinary from the outside. 3 weeks later, I wore my gray blazer to the courthouse and Edwin's silver pin, a flea market find he'd brought home in 1991, because, he said, it looked exactly like something I'd wear. He was right. He usually was. The courtroom was small and fluorescent lit. My daughter sat across the aisle with her attorney. My son-in-law sat beside her with his eyes on the floor. The judge was a woman maybe 10 years younger than my daughter, and she read through the documents without hurrying, which I respected. She asked me 3 questions. Did I fully understand what I was signing when the power of attorney was executed? No. Did I have independent legal counsel at the time? No. Did I currently feel capable of managing my own affairs? Yes. She looked at me for a moment, not skeptically, carefully. Then she nodded once, and the gavel came down, and that was that. Outside on the courthouse steps, my daughter caught up with me. She sounded like herself for the first time. Not the version she performed, the real one underneath. Tired, smaller somehow, younger. I didn't mean for it to go this far, she said. I know, I said. After Dad. You were scared, I said. I understand that. But I raised you, and I sat with your father through 2 surgeries and 6 months of chemotherapy. And I kept a household and a career and a family running for 38 years. I don't need to be handled. I need to be trusted. I looked at her steadily. When you're ready to try that, call me. She opened her mouth, closed it. I walked to the car Amos had arranged. My car, retrieved by a courier from my son-in-law's driveway the previous afternoon, and I did not look back. I stopped at Cedar Glen on the way home. Mabel was in the library, watching the frozen garden, her cup of tea balanced on her knee. I set an envelope on the table between us. Amos's information, I said. I told him about your situation. He wants to talk. She picked it up and looked at it for a long moment. Then she tucked it inside her cardigan, with the same deliberateness she'd probably once used to sign court orders. "Go on," she said, "before one of us ruins our reputations by crying." I squeezed her hand. She squeezed back, firm and dry, the grip of someone who had not given up. The oak tree was still standing. The kitchen table still wobbled on the left. My chair cushion still had the worn patch from 38 years of sitting in it. My grandson had filled the bird feeder while he was home for winter break, without telling anyone, which is exactly the kind of thing Edwin would have done. I made coffee in my own mug. I sat at my kitchen table. I opened the window just a little, even though it was January, because I could. The first Tuesday of March, I walked into Millbrook Elementary and sat in a circle of second graders and read them a book about a bear who didn't want to hibernate because he was afraid of missing things. They had strong opinions. We argued for 20 minutes about whether the bear had made the right choice. I told them I thought he had. At the scholarship ceremony in May, my grandson stood at the front of the gymnasium and shook hands with the first Edwin Daltrey Scholar, a 12-year-old named Keaton who wanted to study engineering someday and had never been told that was something people like him got to do. My grandson was studying engineering at Penn State. They shook hands like two people meeting at the beginning of something. I sat in the back where the afternoon light came in warm and clear, and I thought about Edwin the way I think about him now. Not with the ache of early loss, but with the specific settled weight of someone who shaped everything you are and then trusted you to carry it forward without him. Some mornings, I wake up before the light comes in and I sit at the wobbling kitchen table with my coffee and the window open because I can. 'Cause the house is mine and the morning is mine, and I know exactly what both of those things cost and exactly what they mean. If someone has ever told you to be grateful for what you still have while they were busy taking everything else, this is for you. You are not a burden, you are not finished, and no one gets to put you away and call it love.